Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's the tough spot after the lunch, so we have that honor that we are chosen to entertain you after the lunch. Yes. So it will be an interesting discussion and presentations of four of us based on hybrid and flipped educational models and how to combine the physical and virtual technologies and to get some value out of it. Interesting is because there will be four different approaches and four different discussions about that question. Okay. If you allow me, let me introduce you the panelists. My name is Branislav Vujović. I'm president and founder of New Frontier Group. I'm also teaching on the business school in Bled in Slovenia. I'm also visiting a lecturer on some of the faculties here in Serbia. And my interest and my focus of my research is on the value in digital business models. And I'm focusing on this, what I see as an issue today, a big issue, and I will talk about that. Our speakers are Professor Vladan Devedžić from the Faculty of Organizational Science on University of Belgrade, who is working on this flipped education model, and we will learn about that and how and why this is important. Then our guest is Ambassador Tibor Tóth, Executive Secretary Emeritus, Commodore Emeritus, Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, talking about the business, about the model of testing the big systems, and he will do it on one of the examples. And then we have the honor that Robert Hoffman is with us today, and he will also talk about how to model the big systems and how to work with the models of the big systems. He is the founder and the principal of whatIf Technologies company in Canada and works on these systems, and he founded the company and is leading the company. Okay, so let us start by setting up the environment today. Who was listening to the other presentations heard quite a lot about innovation and disruption, creativity, how the question is how to teach creativity, and we saw even some methods and methodologies how to do that. Okay, and the issue is that we live in the time of digital revolution, and now we can discuss that. There are some people who don't think that that's a revolution, but all of the signs are that we are living in a time of digital revolution. And just my personal view is that we are on very beginning of this digital revolution. In reality, this what happened to us until today, okay, is nothing what will happen to us in next period. Based on that, innovation and disruption is happening around us all the time. All the disruption, this is like IBM has a laboratory which is worth $1 billion, and they had to invest $1 billion. They have all of the best scientists in the world, and they then discuss and they try to innovate and to make some disruption innovation. And that happens soon or not so soon. That happens from time to time. It's very difficult to predict, and it's huge investment, and it's usually only the big companies can do that. The cost is huge of such an innovation, and the power is good, but the thing is that with digital revolution, now we have 10 times, I would say even 100 times, 1,000 times more innovators, because the cost of the entry barrier is very low, and the power of this innovation is huge. And the issue there is that, of course, if you are Steve Jobs and you have fantastic creative idea and you do the innovation, that's one way to innovate. The other way to innovate based on the digital revolution is totally different. And my research and what I'm doing is, what I'm trying to show is that it is not so difficult to be creative in that side if under the assumption that you understand how to create value in digital world, in digital economy, in digital education, in digital whatever. When I'm saying digital, I mean both hybrid and digital. You know, the difference between industrial business model and digital business model is that for industrial business model, you have to invest capital. So you invent something, you find a new product, then you have to invest the capital to create a factory. When you create the factory, then you have to find a distribution channel. Please. Distribution channel. When you find the distribution channel, you have to start production. You produce first the test production and then you ship it, and after that you really send the real production to the channel, and that it comes to the consumer on the end, and the value is realized only when consumer buys these goods. And it's a linear model which goes step by step, and it's supply driven. What does it mean, supply driven? It is we try to produce as much as we can, because the bigger the production is, it's cheaper. We will beat the competition on the market. We will push it everywhere. Everybody has to buy it. Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. And then you start drinking Coca-Cola. If you like it or not, it's a different question, but they produce enough. Okay? So, but it's a linear business model. It's very late when we produce the real value out of it. In digital business model, of course, the data are the main asset. But not only the data, so we have to collect data. From data, we produce information. Okay? I give you an example. You are sitting here. If I would give you the geolocation of this place, my presentation will not be much better, right? And that will be not such a big information for you. You don't need that. So the value of the information is when I give you in the right context, the right data at the right time, that you can use it for something. So I know that all of you have probably your yachts in the Adriatic Sea or somewhere in Canada or somewhere parked too. Mr. Tóth has two. Excellent. Probably one in Balaton. Or yes. So, and there, if you would be in the stormy weather, and all of your equipment doesn't work, and somebody gives you the geolocation, it would be of high value for you. You survive based on this. So the same information has different value depending on the context. And the whole point is, the whole knowledge of understanding digital is how to create this value. How you can collect some data and out of it create the value. Data can be the basic asset and resource, or it can be collected from the processes. Or famous example is there is a Dodo pizza. You know, what can be so fascinated in producing pizza? Not really something special. But Dodo pizza uses real-time data, so every second they know how many pizzas are sold, which type, with which filling, with is it a paprika on top of it or not, and they, based on that, artificial intelligence is ordering the supplies, and they are planning the production, and based on that, and they are very efficient. So it's terribly simple, but data are used at the right time with the value, and based on that, the value is produced. There is total automation, real-time total automation. This is ideal. Of course, it's not easy to achieve, but that's another way of doing this. So if you have digital education, you know exactly in each second how many people are in which of the courses, which module is used, which module is not used. And all of this is then managed with algorithms, or as they call it, artificial intelligence. Okay, artificial intelligence is actually based on models and algorithms. So except if you are using them for the war or robots that will kill you, at the moment they are not dangerous for the other things. And the last, the next thing is it's demand driven. So it's important how many people are using it and how they use it. I give you an example. You know, everybody is saying customers are in the center, clients are in the center in digital economy. But in industrial economy, clients were not in the center. Okay, we put the company in the center, and we look. All of the KPIs of the companies are actually not connected to the clients. But some of you were flying in, right? You were flying in. Who bought your ticket? Did you buy the ticket, or somebody bought the ticket for you?
I'm pedestrian.
You are pedestrian. Airplane ticket? Car. Okay, good.
Travel agent.
Travel agent. Okay. Anybody else was buying a ticket himself? Yes. And I want to. So the point is, you are buying the ticket. If you don't get enough proper information and value information, okay, you will decide for one or the other side. So you are deciding. So company still don't like clients. Clients are only problem. They are making problems, always complaining and doing all of this. But they are deciding now. And because they are deciding, they are in the center. We have to give them all of the information. We have to support them. We have to help them. We don't like it, but we do it because this is the center of digital economy. And the platforms are extended digital ecosystem. You have to include much more people and much more things into the digital business model. There are to increase the value. And I will give you an example. I looked a little bit. There is a modern school here in Serbia, which is half digital, which is hybrid, and the hybrid. And in that case, they have high school and grammar school, and they are advertising as important thing. Streber.com is the site where they help the children through the gaming and through different ways playing to learn much more. There is Duolingo, which is the best way to learn the languages. There are university level education, Coursera, IEDC, Udacity. There are hundreds and hundreds innovation which are in the area of the digital education. The thing is, most of them are focusing on a very niche area. Okay? And the point of innovating and doing something valuable in the digital economy and in the digital time is that you or we as a society, we don't have all of the information, or all of the models do not exist. The laws are not adjusted to digital. The regulations are not adjusted to digital yet. We are slowly adjusting them. So how we can innovate? By copying the other industry branches. You don't have to look only in the education, but you can look in the other sides. So I will give you one example. Yesterday when I landed in Belgrade, at Belgrade airport, I have seen Kini, probably not a good pronunciation, the company that is distributing the plane was from Kini. It's the company that distributes from Alibaba the goods around the world. And Alibaba is very good example. I love you give you example which will give you the feeling how that works. You know, Alibaba was platform where they combine selling and buying. So they do nothing. Alibaba does nothing, just puts the platform where they will, the people who offer something and people who want to buy something come together. And they collected a lot of data, and then they were selling quite a lot. And they had a problem in China, you don't have too many credit cards. So how to pay with this? So they made a wallet, and they made new company Alipay. And you put from your account something in your wallet which is on your mobile phone, and then you pay. Whatever you buy from Alibaba, you pay. And then they extended that you can pay to anybody else, and then they extended it that you can pay in any physical shop. In 2018, in China, not only Alipay, but also the other companies, it was paid through this mobile phone $17 trillion. The Chinese GDP is $12 trillion. So more than the GDP in China. Okay? In United States was paid less than 0.1% of that amount. And the reason, this is according to myself, why Trump is actually pushing the China is because they jumped over. They are doing this smart business. This costs almost nothing. It goes so fast and so easy that the whole economy can grow faster. And US is behind them, so now they have to get the harm. They have to harm them. Then what they realized is that by paying, they know how good you are. So they made the scoring system, how fast you pay, and they started selling the scoring system, and then they were also giving you the loans. This company that is giving the loans is giving 3 times more loans than the next bank on the list of top banks in China. Then they said, you left a small change in a wallet every time. Why don't you invest it? And they made the investment fund, monetary investment fund, and they used this data, again, in the right way with the value, and they created the biggest investment fund in the world. And now they are making the law to stop them growing because they are too big. And then they did insurance, and then they did this, and they did that. Okay? And one of the things that they solved is this company, which I told you, which is called Ni, and which is the first really smart business company. What does that mean? They joined the forces, Alibaba joined the forces with 8 other companies from logistic area, made a joint venture, put in whatever additionally was necessary, and that was a software or algorithms that would manage all of this, so that in every moment you know where your parcel is, where your package is, you know also what is the best way to send your package, okay, and how to send it. And then they added 200 distribution centers, which are all automated, with the goal to ship in 24 hours anywhere in China any goods, and to ship in the world, anywhere in the world, in 72 hours that you would receive the goods. That's their goal. And now they announced that they will, in this year and the next year, save additional $3 billion by just adding and automating additional processes through the artificial intelligence. And the same thing is with education. Education has to learn from that. When we say education, I'm thinking on, as they said, life. If somebody told you, what are you talented for in the very beginning, and somebody was managing your career path, you would have much better chance to become very successful. And if somebody would help you in that, you will maybe do not need retraining. So it's much wider thing. And if you can collaborate and self-learn and decide on what do you want, which module, how do you want it, not to go through the schedule which Ministry of Education prepared 20 years ago and are pushing you to go through that and through the normal process of education. And if that will be lifetime program with career planning program with, and then for instance, just employment agency. Employment agency is actually trying just to work with unemployed people. Okay, but in reality, employment agency has to work with us with our careers that we never become unemployed, if that's the goal. So they have to take and help you with your career, that you go up, that you go left, that you go right, that you find the right job to move in the right place. And that's why I believe that there is a solution, which is, not with 10 minutes, it's very simplified, yes, where education platform is much, much, much wider than what we think. The whole industry has to be included, which will include complete collaboration, creating communities with companies, with the people, with the different way of creating open content, with connecting students, unemployed people, pupils, employees, companies, anybody, okay? On one side, as the consumers, and on the other side, government, companies, employment agencies, assessment agencies to assess, to tell you what are you talented for in order to help you to achieve that. Universities, management schools, all of the institutions to be included. This is just a small excerpt. So go really wide, but make it open so that also the others can connect, and then you will create value, same like Alibaba created with Tini to change the whole industry. Not to go, because we are educated, we go look at our company, results of our company, how we will make our company. It's not that question, it's a question how we will bring the value for us, employees, but also how we will bring the value for the society. And that's what I think would help to create additional value in the new education, which is hybrid education. Thank you very much. Good. So I would ask Vladan, if possible, to speak of the flipped.
Yes, hi. I think I should give you a context first of what I'm going to entertain you with for the next 10 minutes. Look, I'm a teacher at the University of Belgrade, and I teach. Do we need this, or is it just for the streaming? Okay, cool. So, and I teach software engineering. I teach programming. I teach artificial intelligence, stuff like that. But I also teach educational technologies at this university at different levels of education. So that's my background. Again, education is both, nowadays it's both pedagogy and technology. I come from the technological side, although I believe that pedagogical component is the foundation, and then we can probably build on that. What I'm going to tell you a few words about is related to one aspect of education, one very important component of education, and that's assessment. Many people are talking more about the content and then instructional technologies, instructional design, stuff like that. But I'm really interested in assessment alone, because that's when what we teach to our students comes to reality check, and we should somehow be able to validate and verify what they learned from us. Assessment nowadays in the context of, well, what do we call this, hybrid, flipped, whatever models, assessment changes as well. Not only instructional design, not only the content, not only the technologies, assessment is changing. And what I believe is that with technologies, we should adapt somehow to two things, one of them being new educational models, and also to the demands of industry, well, job market, whatever, because once our students go out of universities, they should be able to demonstrate knowledge, practical knowledge, when they want to get the job in industry. So this is the context, and in this context, let me tell you, maybe before I tell you, Tibor, do you mind if we switch seats for, just for the, sure, but just for the next 5 minutes, and then it's all yours. And maybe I'll need another mic. Is this one working as well? Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. I don't have slides. I will just show you something from the internet. You know, again, I'm a software engineer. We don't like slides very much. We prefer working systems. You know. Okay. So how does this go away? Yeah, here. Okay. 4 years ago, we got the grant from European Commission for this project that we called GRASS, Grading Soft Skills. which was very challenging because we wanted to build some models for grading not only hard skills that we are trying to teach to our students in different areas, but we also wanted to somehow make a system that can, one way or another, grade quantitatively, if you want, grade how good they are in collaboration, communication, or maybe in their enthusiasm to evaluate their leadership or whatever. So we got that grant. It was really, in a very hard way. For the first time, when I got the evaluation, the proposal was rejected. And I was working on it for months and months, and I assembled a good team and so on. But the proposal was rejected, only to learn in 2 or 3 months later that actually somebody else who got the grant just decided to give up. And it turned out that my proposal was the first one beneath the line of those who were accepted for funding. So there was that email the other day from the European Commission. Hey, Vladan, come on, did you still want your project? We got some funding for you. Yeah, well, why not? I didn't know it worked that way, but it did. 3 years later, when we completed the project, I really have proudly to say that it was voted to be one of the 3 best projects in that generation of projects funded by the European Commission in the area of education. Out of three of them were voted the best out of 296. So yeah, I was really happy, and then comes my glory and fame. They invite me to the online Educa in Berlin, the most famous educational fair in Berlin. And there's this big room with the guys from European Commission, and the 3 of us are presenting our projects. It was really just our dreams come true and so on. The project was about assessment, essentially. But how do you assess soft skills? That was really interesting. We came up during our 3-year research with this conclusion. You typically assess soft skills along with assessing hard skills. So not just, okay, somebody's a good collaborator in general, but a good collaborator in what context, okay? Or somebody's a good team leader. What is the context? What kind of hard skills go along with their leadership and so on? The other thing, you have to have some new approaches if you want to grade soft skills, which is unusual. People usually can't tell if somebody is a good communicator or a very enthusiastic person or so on, but if you want to put it on a scale between, say, 1 and 10, then it's not that easy. So the new approach that we found interesting for our project was based on digital badges. I don't know if you are familiar with digital badges, but they essentially look like these guys here. So you observe or evaluate or somehow assess someone's skill, someone's level of mastery, someone's achievement or whatever. And then you say, okay, my evaluation says that you are this or that good. Or maybe you can ask their peers to evaluate their achievement, their knowledge, their mastery and so on, their skills if you want. Or maybe you can have some online evaluation, whatever. But after that, you have to ask yourself, okay, what is the evidence that this girl or this boy can do that, this or that good? Can we somehow have a digital evidence of what they are doing? Yes, we can. That's what digital badges are for. This is one of about 1,000 digital badges that we issued to our students who are students of programming and who went through our course on advanced Java programming, practicing their Java skills, and also developing, in a way, their soft skills. We did not pay attention on a variety of soft skills, but we wanted to find how good they are in collaboration, in real-world problem solving, in communication, and we just picked a couple of those soft skills. If you click on a badge, it says here, what is this Maven? That's a technology in Java programming. But let me try to find one related to some. Yeah, how about this one? Collaborator. And this guy, his name is, what is his name? Dragutin Todorović, okay. One of our ex-students. He got this badge for being a good collaborator. Can I click here to find out what is this badge about? It says that this collaborator bronze badge, and of course you will easily infer that there are collaboration silver and gold badges. That's how you grade all that. This guy has earned that badge because he is capable of sharing responsibility and so on, and commits his time and effort to working in a team. That's the description of what it means to get this level of a badge, which is a kind of a grade. But the best part is hidden somewhere underneath this. What is the digital evidence that he is capable of doing this or that? And that's the point. If you click here on this evidence, and then somewhere here, there will be some way to find out how, through his programming code in programming in a team, we concluded, and his or her peers concluded, that he's a good collaborator up to the bronze level. All right? So there is a digital evidence of those skills. One other thing, we did it, no, not there, here. We did the GRASS project with collaboration with 8 different teams. Ours was just one of them. We had 4 different European countries participating in the project. In each country, we had a primary or secondary school establishment as a participant in the consortium. We also had a university. So people from Ireland, Croatia, Sweden, and Serbia participated in the project. Teachers from primary schools, secondary schools, and universities. And we graded soft skills of our different populations of students. So we developed dozens of those digital badges, and we successfully managed to somehow make at least the first step to capturing through those badges what those soft skills are and how they relate to specific hard skills. One last thing, and then I'll give floor to somebody else. This is not really everything. The point is that we did have to have some model, some approach to actually grading, assessing and grading those soft skills. You may wonder, what did we do? This is again technology that helped us do that. There is technology, at least in programming, which our course was about. There is a technology that can actually indicate, with a certain level of certainty, right, how good someone is in collaborative work, how good someone is in leading the team, how good someone is in showing enthusiasm, and so on. Let me just give you one single line of explanation. For each soft skill, you can somehow measure, combined with hard skills, how much they contribute. If for example, they work in a team, how many lines of code do they contribute to the team project? maybe that indicates one way or another their level of commitment and collaboration in that team. Or how many instructions from the team leader the other team members have got. Maybe that indicates their level of leadership in the team, and so on. There is software, that's what I'm telling you. There is software, is an application that actually shows you with, again, some level of certainty how good they were in these soft skills. And that's how we did it. My time has run up, so I'll stop here, and then later on, if you're interested, we can continue with this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Devedžić. Mr. Hoffman?
Thank you very much.
Can you turn it towards yourself so that they can? Yes. Go ahead.
There we are. Thank you very much, and good afternoon. It's been a long day, I think, for all of us, so I'll try and move along fairly quickly. I guess a little bit of by way of background, I'm neither an educator nor am I an academic. By and large, I've had two careers, one in public service, concerned with analysis for public policy, basically, and information to support that, and a second career that's now been 30 years as the founder of a small company, grown to be now about 10 people, engaged in systems modeling, so computer systems modeling. And I guess I've certainly, from this experience, I've come to believe that that modeling is an essential ingredient in how we come to understand systems, and particularly roles to play in how we formulate public policy. It seems to be one of the themes of this meeting so far, or one of the questions that's been hanging, is how do we understand complexity? How do we understand complex evolutionary systems of which we are a part? And how do we communicate that understanding? This is a question that my work over in both careers has been trying to address. Well, why is this an important question? Well, first of all, any decision process by Ashby's law of requisite variety says the regulation that the regulator can achieve is only as good as his understanding of the problem domain. It's fairly clear that our understanding of many problem domains is not sufficient. Therefore, we're in the mess that our world is in. There are a number of problems that have now been characterized as wicked problems. And these are problems for which we have found no solutions. That's why they're wicked problems. But these wicked problems have a number of characteristics. First of all, it's not clear where the boundaries of the problems exist. And there's interdependence. So we think, well, climate is a problem, but climate is a problem that's interdependent with distribution of income, with resource availability, and a whole bunch of other things. It's not a problem that can be taken apart into little pieces so that we can look at and find solutions to the pieces individually. And so that's one of the characteristics. One of the other characteristics is that no institution owns the problem. Each and every institution has some kind of role. The decisions that they make through the course of whatever they're doing are all decisions that collectively impact on the wicked problem. There's also a notion that wicked problems don't have solutions, so they don't lend themselves, as I've said, to breaking up into little bits and pieces where we can find a solution for each problem. by and large, wicked problems seem to involve aspirations for system change, and there are no particular solutions. You can only think that there is a process that we might undertake that will move the system towards our aspirations. That problems can't be ripped out and thought of as being universal, for which there are solutions. By and large, the human mind by itself is capable only of dealing with cause-effect relationships that are local in space and time. That's probably the way that we learn even from infancy, is we move our hand and something happens, and we do that twice, and we learn, there's a mental model impressed on us that that's the way the system works. Well, as problems got more complicated, but we still regarded them as problems, we began to see that we needed to develop tools that would help us solve these problems. But by and large, we're still thinking in the mode of, here's a problem. Can we invent a system that will solve the problem more or less universally? And so all we have to do is press the button. The system understands the complicatedness that our mind can't grasp, and out comes a solution. So all in a way the policymaker has to do is listen to the advice given by his policy advisors, typically a team of economists, and they tell the policymaker what is the best solution. Policymaker is given no real choice. The problem has been defined for him. The solution is given. All the policymaker has to do is enact the rules and regulations that will bring about the solution. Well, this approach has proven to be inadequate with respect to wicked problems. I guess I should have added along the way that it is the characteristic of wicked problems that they involve systems whose future and whose structure is unpredictable. That's what evolutionary systems are about, are systems that evolve and change structure, and they do that in unpredictable ways. So the problem we've tried to confront is, how do you build models of systems that keep on changing? And so this is really a paradox. We can build models of systems that we understand, but can we build models of systems that we know we can't understand and that will continue to change? And the answer to that paradox, we believe, is no, you can't. But what you can do is make use of the understanding that we have and put it in an open simulation model that is transparent and accessible to everybody, and with an emphasis on the word transparency. And basically, then, the notion of that model is not to provide answers to problems or solutions to problems. It's to explore the problem space and to try and look at the opportunities for reconfiguring the underlying physical system such a way that it meets our aspirations for system change. One thing we can say for sure about, well, not even for sure, but by and large, it's a pretty good bet that in the year 2050 and beyond, the laws of physics as we understand them, the first and second laws of thermodynamics, will hold. They're shown to be quite regular, and our understanding of chemical and material transformations is by no means complete, but we do understand what we know works. And so the future is not entirely open-ended. It's bound by the physical laws and the understanding of the regularities that science has been able to uncover. So it's our view that you can build simulation models that are open and transparent, that let you explore the space that's available given your understanding of chemical and biophysical laws. But you have to then view modeling as a process, not as an object. The object is not a model that captures that. It is a process that is open and adaptive to new technology, if you like, new learning, new understanding as it becomes available. And as it becomes available, the space of opportunities opens up. We think that that is important, that this kind of understanding, and you learn about systems by simulation, those that we can't experience directly ourselves. You can begin to understand systems whose dynamics are slow or whose effects are distributed widely in space. You can only begin to understand those systems by simulation. And because they're full of nonlinearities and so on, there's no generalization. How the system responds to particular disturbances is different at each moment in time and each, in some sense, place and space. And the way that you can begin to understand actually how that system works is to simulate. Keep on disturbing it, watch how it responds here, watch how it responds there, and gradually, by learning by experience, you'll begin to understand something of how that system works. But as you then apply this sort of process in a policy-making environment, then you have to use this kind of exploratory process to put options in front of the decision makers. So we can go down this trajectory or this trajectory or this trajectory, and we can assess which ones. But it's not the modelers whose job it is to assess the trajectories. That's the job of a political process, to say, we prefer this pathway, even though we understand it might involve trade-offs here and there between this interest group and this interest group and so on. But that's a political process. So the job of the modeling support is to open up space of opportunities and give the political process a chance to make real choices from amongst real possibilities. It's only then when the choices have been expressed that the policymaker can then begin to dream about the policy instruments that might be employed in order to put this system now, whose trajectory you know in a great deal of detail, how you put the system on that trajectory. And so this notion is very counter to the way we do policy. By and large, at best, we have, coming out of the sort of current Newtonian world, we have policy models that purport to be able to predict how humans are going to behave, how economic agents, including humans, are going to respond to some policy instrument in the year 2050 or beyond. That's preposterous, quite frankly. If there's one thing that we can say about human systems, is that this is the focus of change and adaptation. It's change and adaptation in our behavior that puts us in the Anthropocene. And so we intend in the kind of modeling that we do to not include representations of human behavior and how it will respond to policy. We think better still is, choose the pathway, experiment with some policies, and you'll know within a year or two or three whether or not your policies are effective. And when they're not, as they probably won't be, because a number of things may have happened, then you get to change the intensity with which you apply the policies, or you try new policies altogether, as the case may be. And then, of course, if some interesting new technology comes along that would be interesting to be on a chosen pathway, then you'll have to adapt again. So it's this kind of adaptive process that we think. Where I want to go, and I'll end on this, is that what I think is needed is a platform, an open access platform, on which models of this type, so these open-ended exploratory models, can reside, such that they can be accessible to anybody and everybody from the platform and freely, so that anybody who is interested in playing out their particular scenarios can do so. And we think that open platform should be populated by a number of models and a number of different geographic scales and temporal scales. People should have the capacity to add to the model base, if you want to call it that, and they should have the capacity to change models that exist, and they should have the capacity to link various models together, because those are the components that are required for the space that they wish to explore. And I'll close with the idea that we, our little company, and my years as public service, have built versions 1, 2, and 3 of such a platform. And our little business is based on building models on that platform. Versions 4, 5, and 6 are probably required. But what we have found it difficult to do is to realize open and free access. It seems to me that that's going to require some kind of third-party, not-for-profit interest involvement to put that in place. There we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Tóth.
Thank you so much. Branislav, you mentioned at the beginning that these are different presentations, and there is a striking similarity, I must say. So I will explain why. And modeling was brought up by Vladan, and modeling was in a system of system context brought up. I will be speaking in a modest way about big modeling, and the complementarity is very much there between what Robert just presented and what you will see. I'm coming to this issue of the hybrid and fluid models from a slightly strange perspective. Somewhere back in 2011, when I was running an organization, we started to do what became named as hybrid. Even MOOC at that time as a name did not exist, because I think it was somewhere in 2013 when the companies you mentioned, Branislav, edX, and Coursera, stepped forward. And we were experimenting in a way where we enrolled students, and the increase annually was an exponential increase. So 250, 500, 1,000, practically being one of the 100 organizations of the UN system, you can calculate the potential in it, and it in a way infected me. So this is the angle I'm coming. The other angle is what Robert called wicked problems, global challenges, and the concern that we have an issue there, and I would like to come to that. My presentation is based on a concept where an important contribution was made by a friend of mine. His name is Professor Theodoropoulos. He's not here. I'm not happy because whatever questions you will ask on the technical side, I might not be able to answer, but I will do my best. The first approach to this whole issue might be this hype cycle for education, and my point is that I do not want to go into that direction. So I do not want to explain, because I'm not an expert, those upcoming tools and technologies which you see on this hype cycle, how they might help the students and how they might enhance education. And this hype cycle is changing each year, as you can see. What is more interesting for me to come to this whole issue of how we can deploy a system of system approach, a complex system approach, how we can approach modeling from this notion of the SOS, where again the wicked problems are becoming more neglected, and because of the complicated effect of strengthening each other, clustering, there is a criticality issue, criticality on separate issues like climate change and criticality as they come together. And there were some examples I would like to mention because of the talk, how climate change and global warming is enabling certain vectors of viruses like mosquitoes to bring tropical diseases to parts of the world where even we are living right now. Mosquito-borne diseases and West Nile virus, Zika type of things. But this is just an example about this intersection. Of course, you have many others, and we don't have the time to go into that. Besides the criticality of everything becoming like a big bowl of spaghetti, too much untangable, financial gaps, and then there was the reference to modeling the problem and modeling the intervention. And once you get there, through measuring and then through modeling, then you understand that the mitigation part is not being done. The modeling part is not being done in the overwhelming majority of these global challenges, with the exception probably of the climate change, and even measurement is not being done. I can use an example. It's not an anecdotal one, but I survived myself. When SDGs were replacing MDGs in 2015, there was no measurement reporting out as a baseline of the MDGs. So in a way, the SDG was hanging in the air without any coupling in between the two, and because of that, it will be very difficult to look back. The use, there is no more time. Based on what you see as a positive sign, the climate rebellion, so millions of young people in the streets, the rebellion without the climate. So if we are watching evening news, and it's practically everywhere, it's blowing up as we speak. It's blowing up. The young people are in the streets. Radicalization. At universities in bigger countries, be it not just US but other countries as well, there is a clear radicalization based on what we see. Coming back to why this approach with big modeling might be relevant, besides the points of Robert. We need force multipliers. There is no money in the system. The issues are understaffed, so there is not enough capacity to handle them. So you need force multipliers, and modeling in an integrated way is one way of lining up additional ammunition. The need for it, the rationale is clear, fragmentation everywhere. I don't have the time to go into that. Whichever issue you take, diseases, fragmentation plant and animal and human health, between G7 and G20 and all-inclusive organizations, fragmentation, overlap between those entities which are to intervene. So this is the rationale for what we call big modeling, a more integrated approach. And one way of looking upon it at R11, you see the classical educational component of an ecosystem for big modeling. But the idea is to pull together all these elements which can contribute to what might be along the lines, as I think, Robert, you just named it, and you might see as well the idea here, how to pull together different components. Domain owners like think tanks and research institutions and the model holders and the high-performance computing platform, and modeling entities and ICT and other companies. And there might be two ways of merging it. One is the platform part, which Robert explained, and the critically important part is the networking. So how you power the system you described, how this very sophisticated HPC-based big modeling configuration might work. And I think for me this is more interesting from an educational point of view, more interesting from the point of view how the two can be coupled, where in the absence of hands, in the absence of money, we can use tertiary, and not just tertiary, but secondary education as well to practically power this big modeling system. That's something which I think, in a way, Robert was alluding to. This is a high-level view of practically a platform of platforms and models pulled together in a melting pot, and all the different models are addressing different issues, and they are complementary, and whichever issue you like to focus on, you can turn around, because if you would like to focus on climate change, you can have the inputs of trade and migration and disease situation. If you look upon it from a disease point of view, again, you can have the right configuration for your requirements. There is an architectural part of it as well, and that would be interesting to see. This is something where I think because of the investments around US, China, and the EU, there's a lot of money being spent, and as in many cases, there is a need to find new applications. So practically, especially in this high-power computing area, people are hungry on the hardware side to see exactly how it will be used, or like with 5G, for example. So this is one of the application areas for some of the systems which I described here. What I would like to refer to is how big modeling might be applied to something like early warning system for monitoring of vector-borne diseases. And I don't have the time to go into too many details, but just to give you a taste that, yes, it can be done in a way where we are practically, with the right incentivization, mobilizing a massive number of additional hands, meaning tertiary students or students in the secondary even system, or people who are enrolled in vocal training. Okay? The way to do it is probably very much dependent upon incentivization, and one incentivization might be in case universities and tertiary institutions find a way across the board to have a recognition of certain credits which might be earned as a result of doing input work package element as a result of breaking down a problem. And here you have a bit of a breakdown structure in a matrix form, where if you go deeper, then these type of things can be done by students from the medical university, human medicine, veterinary medicine, those dealing with plant diseases. And the incentivization issue is, what is it for them in it? And there must be something. Of course, it can be working on the Wikipedia principles as well, where they are proud of doing it. And I'm very happy that Kaka is here, who is the president of the University Association. So this is something I'm sure that they have been discussing, how to have this wide recognition of credits. The other element is, of course, financial incentivization, and the two can work together. So I will not have the time to go into details, but practically what you see in the matrix and what you see here is with red color all the elements which can be as input helping monitoring of new diseases practically to be delivered by this massive support of students. Where it is different from the present model, in my understanding. There are certain elements which exist, like medical universities, hospitals, where students are practically practicing in real life with real patients and doing real things under the right supervision and the instructions. So imagine the hospital is practically the real world where, again, these newly emerging diseases are there, and some of the students are practically doing this practicing job. The last point is this one. This is the number of students projected to be enrolled in tertiary education in 2030, which is the time frame for the SDGs. The number is doubling compared to 2015. So in 2015, it was around 200 million people enrolled, and in 2030, it will be pretty close to 400. It's doubling each 15 years. So besides giving a meaningful education which is affordable to these students, the idea is that even 1% of these numbers is representing 2 million additional pairs of hands lined up behind issues which are totally and dangerously critically neglected. I stop here.
Thank you very much.